Well, I've been thinking, as while I'm clearing the path to Temple Tantra, trying to figure out how I can have more time to spend working on my paths, water, ponds, a little miracle mountain, and demonstrating now the next step. I don't want to really run a business anymore. So the trick is, how do you go ahead and disperse so much amongst so many who need it in such a way that they'll appreciate it and be empowered, not enabled? These are serious questions. Having been poor in my life, poor enough that I went through dumpsters to survive, jumped in them to get food or to get things to sell at the flea market. I've been there. So I'd like to see a way for us to go ahead and empower people that need it to be able to get a home. Now, a lot of things I want to do no longer work with being a businessman. So how are we going to go ahead? Well, I've always wanted to do a co-op. And a co-op being not necessarily one location, but a co-op being a cooperative where people from around a number of different places get together. And by doing that, they can throw a little bit of money each together and have a cooperative where they can come and build something. They can have tools to share together. They can have space to build their home in. They can have space to store the materials that they get from salvaging until they're ready and sell the ones they don't need. This was the concept for the Pure Salvage Living Outposts. PSOs. For short, PSOs. Okay, the Pure Salvage Outposts, the PSOs, were co-ops. So the PSO co-op is all the members can own a piece of the profits that come out of the difference between what they get for their stuff and what the house gets, the co-op gets, for storing it and selling it. And then they can also have access to all the other things that go with it, including the forklifts or the trucks and trailers sometimes to pick up the stuff off the jobs, because not everybody can afford to have a truck and trailer. Or more importantly, if you're going to move a house after you build it in something like Manifestation Bay, then you would be able to pick it up and transport it with a common carrier that's working in common with the other Pure Salvage outposts or co-ops. So you get a special deal. Now here's the trick. For me, how do I go ahead and get enough people involved in this to make the co-op reach more than just Salvage, Texas, which is just the model for how this could work? Well, to do that, I need to finish setting up the model, but I can't set it up with just me. And so what I'm trying to do is figure out how to put together a group of people, and I hesitate to use the word nonprofit, because ultimately the business will be very profitable, but it's profitable for the co-op that operates it. And they could, in theory, get a non-profit, but frankly, losing money is not that hard, and you don't have to pay taxes if you're losing money. So frankly, if GE and all those other guys can make lots of money and not pay any taxes, I suspect the new tax plan isn't going to keep anybody from doing that either. If the co-op is making money and you're doing good things and expensing the heck off of all the teachers you might have and all the equipment you'd have to buy and all the trucks, and shoot, a legitimate business by the time it expenses all that stuff off, no big deal. Now, the advantage of the nonprofit, well, that would be if I wanted to donate all this stuff to a nonprofit. In theory, that would be a tax write-off, which assumes you got money to write off taxes against. So if you're making a lot of money, you got a lot of taxes paid, then if you get a tax write-off, you can put it up against that tax bill. But most of us don't have that problem because we're not making enough money to have to pay enough taxes that a big write-off is going to do you a lot of good. So with a co-op, you're actually contributing to an organization that's actually making you money. As part of the organization, you have access to all this stuff and access to the knowledge and teachers teaching your children while you're out doing the work that they can't do because they're elders. All the things that are possible with co-ops around the country, I want to see manifest. And to do that, I want to figure out a way to give several $1 million worth of materials to such an organization as we might create with better people than I, as administrators, in that there's a lot of work to administering these things, and I'm not the man to do that. Now, there are some organizations in place already, and those are the sorts of organizations I would hope would be able to come to my aid. And to say my aid, I mean, what I want to do is effectively cash out of the small amount of land it would take, sell the facility, which then could be leased back at a very low amount of money. For example, the facility that I've been operating Tiny Texas Houses out of, for example, and which now contains a large amount of not inventory. It's just salvage and barter. It's actually, as you'll learn if you listen to my lectures and stuff, it's a way of accumulating an intangible, tangible wealth. It depends what you do with it, makes it valuable. It could be just trash sitting there, in which case there's no way you can tax it. And if you happen to stack it up and it looks like a house, you still have a difficult time taxing it. If you sell it, now it has a value. So the houses you could make with salvage out of a co-op and move onto your land would be very difficult to value for tax purposes. In fact, it would stay very low because they're portable buildings in Texas under 400 square feet and other states. It's tax advantages, loopholeology in practice. The loopholeology is how do you find the loopholes that are already made into the system so that you can go ahead and benefit from them, like the richer people who have lawyers and specialists and consultants that teach them this stuff instead. So to write the books to go ahead and teach this loopholeology and other things, of course, that I wish to do, it's time for me to move forward and not be a businessman anymore. To do that, I need to entrust millions of dollars worth of buildings and materials to an entity or entities or a group of people that are willing to go ahead and commit to creating other outposts in Dallas and around Texas and beyond, whereby the stuff that's in warehouses, over 100,000 square foot of warehouses, some of it stacked ridiculously high, could be distributed and then utilized in each of these locations, either under tents that we could send out in smaller, what we call chapters. A pure salvage outpost in its large form, a co-op, has a forklift there, racking there, all sorts of things that make it possible to use it for retail, but also a production area. And this is what I want to sell the building to become. It's worth about 1.2 million or so, and I just want to go ahead and, if we can do it, pull it together, get about 800,000 out, we clear all the loans out of the way for all the land, and get it down to where the facility then can be used in the future for other people to come to study, and then if they could possibly come up with people who want to do the curriculum, and I will be glad to consult. I'll be glad to help, but I'm not the guy to write it all up and organize it and do all that. That's been the conundrum, of course. So in order to make something like that happen, you can't have a king. I don't want to be king. You can't have somebody to blame everything on. I don't want to be the guy to blame everything on. So we have to get a bunch of people in here that want to work together and have evidence and knowledge and experience and training to work together. And then financially, all this stuff is, the rest of it's paid for. I want to pretty much donate it. I'll sell it with a small stipend sort of payment coming back to me and access to my warehouses for the stuff I want to do. But for the most part, the goal is to set up a nonprofit, irrevocable trust, whereby what I'm doing now with everything I'm trying to create here is a model of what can be done. Will then be able to be copied / morphed I guess the best way to put it would be to be distributed amongst a larger population in order to inspire more people to come together, elders and with experience of how we used to build things, and younger people. And so we teach appreciation for the old stuff, the hardware, the glass, and hopefully teach it at a time when our elders need to downsize dramatically and we have to come up with a way to deal with all of the possible treasure, as well as the garbage and toxic waste out of the newer subdivisions from the last 30 years. Sheetrock and fiberglass and roofing shingles and concrete. Those are just not healthy things, not to mention all the vinyl and things like that. So when we take down these newer neighborhoods, it's going to be a disaster. But there are areas of the country with a lot of good old materials, good doors, windows, flooring, lumber inside the walls, just the tile roofs, tons of stuff that will cost us so much more to manufacture, import, or produce, including all the iron and tubs and sinks and stuff like that. They're still good in porcelain. It's just changing our perspective on what's cool to have. And as we're seeing that evolve, as I kind of wrote articles about this in 2000 as we're going into the new millennia and telling about how the nostalgia would develop for the past and how we would start appreciating what we had at one time in abundance as it started to decline. Well, it took a little while. We're in 2017, 17 years later, very much. People have an appreciation for the old stuff and the salvage and, oh my goodness, all the things you can create with it that never existed before. So I invite you to share this and if there are people that you know, organizations, that can come together and either take large chunks or bring together a larger net, which is what I'm after, of like organizations that already do some salvage, like Kansas City has them, where they're doing some building already, and expand, but to get the money and the investors or the people together that are back to come in and buy out the last of the debt so we can then put it into an irrevocable trust. I can't do that until we get rid of the last of the bank debt. And I'm willing to go ahead and get out of my name and not take a gigantic profit. I'm not after that. I need to go ahead and make sure I secure everything before we go into it, that we have enough money that when I sign off to a trusted group of people to go ahead and run it, that they will be able to handle it. And to do that, I am willing to go ahead and sign over massive amounts of inventory and buildings and keep a chunk of it in the middle as another slip area just in case, where I can have salvage fair and some of these villages like Tantra Village where I live. These are examples where I can have permaculture and show you how the fish have been able to come into a place that had no water, how we're able to grow food out of what was actually desolate countryside. And ultimately, when I leave, this will be somebody else will take care of that, the trust. It'll be left to them. So this is my plan. I don't want to sell it and make gobs of money and millions of dollars and have somebody go off and rape and pillage what I clearly tried to make an organic experience. Cottages that could be made out of the past, lasting long into the future, and respecting all of what our ancestors did back in a time when we had abundant resources. It's important. It's important because if we don't teach that to the next generation of children, that concept and how we appreciate our elders and the generations that came before us is going to be lost. And I never imagined in my lifetime when I was a kid that you would see me at this age. Looking this way, hey, looking this way, no less. I can say there's nothing in my life ever prepared me for this sort of incredible opportunity to be able to give so much to so many. If I can do it in a way that it doesn't get wasted with a bunch of people that just abuse the opportunity, I want to empower people that'll do something with it, to become something with it. More millionaires are made out of salvage than any other business. It's because the treasure is abundant right before our eyes. So, please join me. This has certainly gotten to be a long tape. I will go ahead and try to get it out and let everybody know. But frankly, if you know people or organizations that don't think that $1 million is a lot of money to go ahead and pick up $4 or $5 million worth of real estate and inventory and put it into a nonprofit trust and not have administrators strip it with executive salaries and stuff. I want a real, huh? I know, I'm gonna upset people. I want a real for-profit agency instead of a nonprofit, so that way the co-op, as a co-op, everybody knows what everybody's gonna get. The administrators are gonna get a fair amount of money for doing that work, but also it's gonna be an opportunity for all the people inside the organization to benefit, and that's the benefit of a co-op. I wanna see this become that. You want to call it a nonprofit? I don't never want to see it make a profit, except to turn it back around and give it to the people that help make that happen. And if that profit's knowledge, and it comes in the form of homes, it comes in the form of barter, and a way for a teacher who's retired to then get a house built that could never have it otherwise, or a veteran to go ahead and build houses or have his own home for his family. Small, simple, just like mine. That's what I offer. So, with that in mind, I need to get back to work on the little bit of light I have left. And thank you. Thank you, thank you. Please share. Let everyone know. I'm not here to be taken advantage of. I don't want that to happen because that's not the way this is supposed to go. It's supposed to go that I'm going to go ahead and make some of the advantages that I've come to find available to others. It might be materials for a house or two to get them off the ground and get them started in a business, or it might be enough for an entire warehouse in a small town where they have plenty of people that need it and are willing to go ahead and work in a co-op. And they send a truck in and we load it up with people and they ship it back, and everybody comes here and knows what's available and goes back knowing what they might also sell and move there. That's the advantage of the big warehouses consolidated in one spot. And in Texas, trust me, I can get to Houston, Austin, San Antonio, and the Gulf Coast all within an hour and a half, generally within an hour. So we're perfectly located. It's a great spot for it. Now, if somebody come in and buy the facility, we'll have the entity lease it back from them so they make money, get the write-offs, and we can keep going forward with other people going ahead now, and the teachers coming in, and the people who can run a curriculum, and whatever organizations can blend together to grow the pure salvage living renaissance. This is what I pray for now and ask for your help on. Darby has other things to go on to do. Artistic, controversial, I'm sure. But as a character in a book that I have to write, that character needs to come alive. And to do that, other people need to come along and take care of growing this and morphing this into all that you, the rest of you now, have the chance to do. I said I would build 100 examples. I hope to keep the rest here so that others can come and share. So check out our B&B, stay for a night, go down to the mud pits, go up on the mountain, feel, see, touch, and know it's not a joke. It's a little bit of a fantasy. Yes, it is a little bit of a fantasy, but it's coming true. And for that, I hope more will, and it will, thanks to you. Back to work. Yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you.